What is up? How's it going, everybody? How's it going, everyone? Today, welcome to BioTalk. Today we will be talking about none other than the various launchers and ammo featured in Bionicle. This will be a really fun one. I'm excited, at least, to definitely do this. I think it's been a long time coming as far as the discussion goes. I think there's definitely a lot to talk about here. Thank you, Captain Geo, for joining me. He's here with us today. And
as per usual, I forgot my mic was muted.
No worries, no worries. And yeah, if it's your first time watching, that was a cover of Hero by Tom Rule. It's great. And just before we get started on going through this whole tier list, I will be coming to Seattle's BrickCon. That's BrickCon 2021 next weekend. So not this weekend, but next weekend. If you're near or around the Seattle area, go ahead and get your tickets. If not, there is also an online version, and I hopefully will be sort of, I guess you could say, like vlogging so-and-so daily content just of everything that I do there. So it's very exciting. It's always a really fun time every time I go. And yeah, before we get started, I just want to say thanks everyone for watching the Lego Masters recaps. We just ended that last week. And if you saw Thrawn, my other co-host for that show, he will be at BrickCon as well. We will be having a bunch of fun doing that. But I guess let's just go ahead and get started. Now, I have about 9 launchers pulled up. That's where I call it, and I'm not going to start with the Krana or the Krata or the Kanohi. I know that those were collectibles in the earlier years of Bionicle, but what we're focused on is mainly the shooting function aspects of the Bionicle toy line, and it really came down to I think starting with the Kanoka Discs. That's 2004. Now we had technically disc launchers with like Robo Riders and Sliders and the Tahunga, the Mictoran of 2001, but where you really started to see Bionicle figures use actual launchers was in 2004 with the Matoran of Metronui and of course Fakama using the Kanoka disc launchers. Let me see how we're doing right now. I guess we're having a tough with the video, seems to be running a little slow, so I guess maybe it is the fact that we're also running your Geo, that we're also running your webcam. I don't know.
I've also been noticing it.
Yeah.
It's not just on my machine. Whenever I'm on break at work or on lunch, it's on my work machine as well. So I'm thinking it might just be YouTube. It's not. I don't think it's us.
Right. Well, let's hope it's not us. Here, if you guys take a look, we'll go ahead and play a video of the Squid Launchers. We'll get to Squid Launcher eventually. I just love this video. Someone sent it to me over the Discord, and I was like, I have to show it. But who remembers the Squid Launchers? Anyone remember Squid Launchers? Fun fact, and we'll get into it when we talk about them, but the Squid Launchers at a Lego store had a little competition where there was like a bullseye that you were supposed to hit, and I actually managed to hit one of the targets, and so I won an autographed version of Bionicle comic during the Baraki era, the Marinui saga, from Greg Farshty himself. So that's something that I have saved somewhere at home up in Seattle because it's really important to me. Cool. Who do we got here before we get going? We have Bionicle Oculus Studio, Incredibeast. Good to see you guys. BioScrawl, DJ Dude, CMOS. DJ Dude, I'm assuming you're DJ Alistair. Yeah, CMOS, Zamorsphere were always slippery. Daler99 is here. What's going on? BioScrawl, CMOS, yeah. Bionabot is here. Haven't seen you in a while. Alien Kid 360, good to see you. Pinch of Basil. Awesome. Clips Film Melbourne, as always, great to have you here. So, yeah, and Potato Man, awesome. Well, let's go ahead and get started with the Kanoka discs. Now, we learned in canon that these discs could be turned into masks. is kind of one of the main functions of them within the universe. But they were also used as weapon, and I believe also as sport, if I'm not mistaken. But
In
when
lore, yes.
Yeah, in lore, yes. But these, are not on the higher echelon, I would say, of launchers. They would soon go to improve it. But this was based off a design that LEGO had used in Robo Riders and in Slizers, or I think it was mainly just Slizers / Throwbots that had used these discs. And these ones particularly glowed in the dark. And if you got one with your set, it had a number on it, and you would enter the number in the Kanoka Club. It was usually 3 letters or a mix of letters and numbers that you could enter online for exclusive content on Bionicle.com. And I guess I remember using these, having fun with them, knocking people's, like, Matoran's mask off and all that. And, they could go actually pretty far across the room, from what I remember when I was a kid. And then at night, even the Matoran I have on my desk behind me that are holding them, the Metro Matoran, they still glow in the dark. So, 15 years, 16 years later, these things still happen to glow in the dark, which is pretty wild. I didn't know that, but I guess things that glow in the dark can last a very long time. So, yeah, it's not in the higher tiers for me, but definitely kind of towards the middle. I don't know, Gio, how about Kanoka Discs for you? Their importance to you and where you would put them?
I was rather young at the time. So, when it comes to Kanoka Discs, I never got any of the Metrotorin until before I moved, until after I moved out of my parents' place. So I didn't really get much of a chance to really focus on it.
Right.
That much. Same with the Tahunga. I was way too young to even remember. But when I actually got them, they worked, and that is the number one thing for me. It at least works as intended, unlike some others.
Totally. It worked as intended. They weren't as easy to lose as like Zamor spheres or Rotuka spinners, and they could stay in those disc launchers pretty well for opposability and everything. They're definitely, I would probably at the end will rank all of them, but I would probably keep them in maybe 4th or 5th spot, just because they're definitely not in the top. But they look cool, and it was an essential part of the storyline in Metro Nui, where he put together all the discs, and he was able to craft the Mask of Time, as we see here in this photo I just pulled up. I don't actually believe I even have this disc. Do you, Gio, have this exact one? It's like a collectible.
The Mask of Time disc?
Yeah.
I do not.
I don't either. But
I have the Mask of Time, but I don't have the Mask of Time disc.
Yeah, totally. It's hard to find. Post in the chat right now. Do you guys know exactly what set it came from, or how you would get it if it was randomly in the boxes?
I don't think it came in a set. At the most, I would think it's a poly bag, but even then, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, not sure. All right, no worries.
I'm certain it's a Google search away, though.
Right, totally. 1 second, I think I'm going to pull in HQ Bacon into the live chat, or into our show. By the way, if you guys haven't yet, join the Discord link down below. HQ Bacon, are you with us? Let's see, he might be muted.
Yes, I am, I think.
All right. Anyways, good to see
man?
you. Yeah, good to see you. How's it going?
It's going good. We bumped into each other whenever you were
yes,
visiting
if you guys
my
don't
state,
know,
which is
yeah.
cool.
I was in Alabama visiting some family, and I managed to meet up with HQ. And we got a drink and talked Bionicle. It was really fun. So I was saying, whenever you want, you can jump onto the live show, and here he is. So I guess
finally.
We were going to move on to Rotuka, but since you just showed up, Kanoka Disc Launchers, where would you kind of rank them, and what you say is your kind of overall experience with them as far as one of the many launcher functions featured in Bionicle toys?
Well, I don't know. I think when you look at that kind of stuff, you've got, y'all might have already touched on this too, because I just got off work, but you've got effectiveness, and you've got looks. You've got the guns that shoot well, and you've also got the ones that look the coolest. Right. And I think Kanoka is kind of the sweet spot in between, where it's like, I don't know what they're called, but the Mari weapons.
Cordak blasters.
Cordak blasters.
Yeah, those for me, they look awesome, but like they just didn't do as well in terms of like actually firing for me as a kid.
Totally.
But the Kanoka discs, it was like, I don't know. There was a collectability to them that isn't in the others.
Right.
If that makes sense.
They each had their own specific like image for each Metru, and they also had different abilities, and also they did have the 3 different letters that you could enter on, like Kanoka Club, I believe is what it was called online.
Yes, and that was honestly, I think that was my first, because I started getting Bionicle getting into Bionicle in like 2004. So like,
right.
I think those Kanoka discs were the first time that I ever was like actually plugged in online.
Totally.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that's when I realized that there was like this entire like network of Bionicle stuff online, and that's where I got into like Monanui online game and stuff was from Kanoka Club. Because I saw it on the canisters and stuff.
So we have about 16 concurrent viewers. What's going on, everyone? Just before we continue, we also have Josh Gage just showed up. Good to see you. Cassiano Urbanu says, the disc launchers are easily my favorite. They were easy to use and to find its projectile, unlike Zamor spheres or Rotuka spinners. A lot of Rotuka spinners ended on people's roofs, and let's get into that. So, 2005, we are back in Metru Nui. This is the Hordika and Vizirok era year of Bionicle, and Rotuka spinners were introduced. Now, my favorite part about these was visually in the movies and the advertisements, it just made for a really cool function. But there was really only one way they could go, and that was up. Now, you could get them going sky high. I remember just blasting these in the air. But the amount that are probably still stuck in the gutter of my old house that I grew up in, I mean, they would get stuck up there. I remember at recess at school, I would send them up high, and they'd probably landed on I'd lose a bunch of them. So I remember I would get the boxes to collect them. But, it was a cool function. But when it came to, like, close combat, especially close combat and playability, these things would end up everywhere. I would try hard to kind of, like, shoot them sideways, and you could. But for the most part, they were known for going upwards and gonwards. For you, Gio, where do these lie, and what would you have to say about the Rotuka spinners?
Rotuka spinners... It's like a love-hate thing. Like, I love them because they worked, but I also hate them because they were completely unpredictable. Like there was a predictable path. They went upward, but where they went from there, you don't exactly know unless you were paying 100% attention.
Right.
I never really took my Hordika or Rotuka spinner toys outside that often, if at all. So I don't remember ever losing them, but the Rotuka spinners on their own are a very flimsy part. And that's by design. It's light, it needs to generate lift. But don't put them in a Bionicle parts bin by themselves. They will get mangled. They will lose their shape.
Yeah, and it was like hard, like these, and this would continue for a while, but like the existing as ammo, really, it was just different colors. There wasn't as much more unique about them. I remember with some of the Toa Metru, or some of the Toa Hordika, they would be like different colors and fusions, everything. I think we've got a gold one, silver one. People still collect them, even though all that differs is really the color. I don't know, though.
The default color was silver.
This is another interesting question when it comes to canon, but does anyone in the chat or Yu-Gi-Oh know that there's certain Rotuka spinners or discs that had different powers or abilities?
Yes. The Toa Haga, as notable as they are, the Toa Haga are the only ones that I'm aware of, and I have their powers in front of me right here, actually. Bamanga had the power of vertigo for his Rotuka spinner, and all 6 of the Toa Haga Rotuka spinners were meant to fight Rahi, so they were meant to discombobulate Rahi and then take him down easily if any of them got out of hand. So Bamonka's was vertigo. So whenever you're on a plane, you start feeling like dizziness. Right. That's vertigo. Koalas had stasis field, so that would basically just freeze them in time and space temporarily.
Right.
Pooks had limited invulnerability, so he would shoot that at one of his teammates or one of his allies to help aid against fighting Arahi. Gaaki had speed. Imruni had healing, and Norik had slowness.
Oh, interesting. All right.
All six.
I had no idea.
Spears also had different powers, but that's not exactly the subject.
Wow, I had no idea. That's super, super cool. HQ Bacon, for you, when it comes to Rotuka spinners, what do you have to say about them?
We also have a wild Tributron in the chat.
We do.
We do.
I'm gonna. Thanks for being here. I'm gonna pull him up in the window here.
Well, for the
hello, fellow compatriots.
Trib, it's been a long time.
Speaking of
indeed, it has. Yes. Oh man, I really do want to go.
Trib is gonna be there. Trib is gonna be there.
Are you, Trib? Are you gonna be at BritCon?
That's what he was telling me last time we talked.
I hope you are.
Yeah.
Man.
I would love to go, at least just for like a one-day visit,
Yeah, totally. Let's do it. Make it happen.
See, I thought it was funny because you told me when we went out, like you told me that you were like, you're trying to get me to go to BritCon. I don't know if I'm gonna go. And I was like, yeah, I mean, because you were like, I've been traveling so much, and then like a few weeks later, I see the post, and I'm like, he's going.
Yeah, I had to. I got a good job the other week, so it was like, all right. Save up some money. Yeah. Let's make it happen. Yeah, that's awesome. We'll continue to talk about it, Trib. Hopefully we can make something happen. But
yeah, it will be nice. The thing is, though, I was also after like I talked to Captain Geo. I was like a couple of weeks later. I was like, oh shoot. I had to consider about the budget that I'm working with for the toy line that I'm working on. Can I squeeze in, just that little extra bit, just to go to Seattle,
Right.
So it's going to be tight. It's going to be tight, but I think I'll be able to make it. At least for a day.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So on the topic of Rotuka spinners, yeah, HQ and then Tributon, just what did you guys have to say about them?
Sure. I think that BioScrawl97 said it really good in the chat here. He says, Rotuka spinners were a mixed bag for me. He said they were really cool collectibles, but they could be lost so easily. To me, that's how it was, because like I know Gio just said that he didn't use his outside very much. I envy him because I used them outside way too much, and I don't know, genuinely, I don't know where many of them are. And that's where it comes into like how cool they look versus how practical they were, where I feel like Rotuka spinners were like, they're not necessarily practical in like hitting their target, but they were good at what they did. Right, you know what I mean? They were like a cool thing to do. But if you ask me, like, find a set in your house or find one in, your boxes of Bionicle that you have, I honestly, I don't even know if I have any left. Just because they were so easily like misplaceable and stuff. So
they would kind of slide off really
too.
Easily.
Yes, and they also had some certain ones. Not all of them had codes as well for you to put on the online, similar to the Kanoka Discs.
They were inside the outer circle, and they were impossible to see.
Yes, and so I remember like I would use those codes, but once again, that would just be another instance of like I misplaced them or I set them down once I used the code or whatever. So like I really like them. They're one of the more memorable projectiles to me, but I also think ironically it's a win and lose, because when you play it with it that much as a kid and you misplace them, that means they were well used, but it also means that like
right.
they're not one that is like readily available anymore.
Yeah, totally. Tributron, how about you? Any stories with Rotuka spinners?
Well, when it comes to Rotuka spinners, I had a lot of fun with them, but the issue is that it wasn't the spinners themselves that I kept losing. It was actually the rip cords.
Right.
So, man, it wasn't fun at all. But something that I did wish Lego could have done was after seeing Bionicle Web of Shadows, seeing the Rahaga flying with their propeller Rotuka basically on their backs and stuff like that. It's like, man, I wish that the sets could also have the propellers on their back, but also launch at the same time. Doing that whole dual weapon function dealio. It would have been nice to see.
Nice.
Yeah. But they were alright. Not really like a staple in my childhood growing up with Bionicle. But I did enjoy making a whole bunch of colony drones.
Cool. Some people say, Rotuka solution, a short ceiling. Definitely a couple times I would go so hard with them that they would just like rotate on top of the ceiling, and that was always fun. If you dangle a target directly above them, Pitcher Basil says, the launchers were cool. They were more of a spectacle than a heavy hitter. Totally. So that's Rotuka spinners. Definitely I think they succeeded in their function. They were easy to lose and easy to break, but were definitely kind of their own sort of thing, which was definitely really cool. Here's here's like a box. This was like you could, I remember I bought one or two of these because I loved the function so much, where you could spin them and buy like silver or mixed colors of red and silver or green and silver, and they had all sorts of different color combinations that I guess when I put myself in the shoes of young me, I actually really enjoyed. So they're definitely, I'd say, I agree, someone in the chat said like that the Kanoka Discs were really the last of the collectibles. They tried to keep these collectible up until, I'm pretty sure it was the up until the Squid. Like, it was pretty much you could always find a box of them at a Toys R Us, Walmart, Lego store, if you ever lost any. But cool, let's go ahead and talk about the next one. Now, this is when stuff got a little interesting, I would say. We're heading into 2006 with the introduction of the Zamor sphere launcher. Now, at the beginning, it was each Paraka that was equipped with one of these, and from what I saw, I thought these cool little translucent colored balls were an interesting idea. They could shoot very far, and actually, if you were not very careful, you could potentially hurt someone. I remember in all the instruction manuals for the Paraka seeing a little warning saying don't shoot at someone's eye, so they always had that little warning in the instruction booklet. And the story behind the Zamor spheres is interesting too, that they're made of this liquid and all that, and each one, they do actually have sorts of like different functions. From what I would remember, they would use them on like the Matoran. They would literally use Matoran as target practice with these Zamor spheres. So I think each Paraka came with 2 or 3, maybe it was just 2 of them, just in case you'd lost one. And then, of course, let me see if I got an image of it. I might not have. But with the Zamor spheres, as you guys know, you could get a box. Here we go. Yeah, a box of Zamor spheres. I remember I got one of these as soon as I got my first Paraka because I was like, I'm definitely going to lose some of these. Yeah, here's the image. And what was weird, though, about the box of Zamor spheres is that they weren't translucent and they didn't really match any of the ones that came with the Paraka or even in the Yanika. They were like silver, like metallic, like chrome or metallic red or metallic gold or green. And so I had a bunch, but I remember being like, I would like to get some that are actually just the translucent colors like I have with the Yanika and with the Paraka. But these were really the only types of Zamor spheres you could buy separately, were these 3 or 4 shades similar to what we see in this box here. One thing I know that was like a downside of Zamor sphere launchers for sure is that it was so easy for these to fall out. There have been a bunch of people online who've been able to cheat it and kind of mock their own little connection on the top to keep the balls from falling out. You could argue that they kind of fixed that with the Anika launcher as far as like just the sheer amount that you could fit. I remember when the Anika launcher came out. Let me see if I'll pull that one up too, because it's definitely a part of the same conversation. It's the same launcher, just with the extension. But seeing these Anika in the Lego magazine and being like, whoa, you thought, one Zamor sphere was cool? Try 4. And just being able to see that you could fit like 3 to 4 of them in one of these was cool, because you wouldn't run out, at least for a couple tries of shooting them. Yeah, here it is. This was the launcher. Yeah, cool idea. Definitely. They used, Zamor spheres were used for quite a while, and they were featured in a lot of sets going forward. So, I don't know.
It even went on like beyond Bionicle. Like it became like a staple, projectile shooter. So
yeah, totally.
And they had a bigger radius than the basketballs and soccer balls did.
Right. So yeah, Gio, I don't know your 2 cents on the Zamor sphere launchers.
The Zamor sphere launcher was one of my favorites, personally speaking. The Baraka variant, not so much, but the Anika variant.
Yeah.
I should use the proper pronunciation. The Anika variant. The Anika variant was good. I enjoyed it much more than the Baraka one, mainly because like the Zamor spheres didn't fall out as easily. And that was just because of a flaw in the design, which was originally intended. But the flaw in the design was if you tilted it too far one direction, the Zamor sphere would fall out, and that's still the same situation with the Anika variant. But the problem with that one was because it was so high, it didn't need as much of an angle to have the top one fall out. So you needed to take like a Technic connector, like a female to female Technic connector. I think it was like the 5 length, and then a Borak tooth on the top to keep the
Borak tooth,
to keep the top one from falling out. And that one worked. Like you could put Zamor spheres in, and they wouldn't fall out like at all. But this is one of the better working ones.
HQ, you want to? Or sorry, you can keep going.
I was gonna say one last thing.
Go for it.
Another flaw in this, like the 2 bits of plastic on either side of the Zamor sphere itself, that could be prone to tweaking. Like you could get stress marks on the plastic. I personally haven't had that happen, but I've seen it happen on some others.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Interesting.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm very delicate with my Lego Bionicle sets growing up, so I wouldn't know. But that's interesting.
Yeah. HQ Bacon, your 2 cents on the Zamor sphere launchers, both the Baraka and Anika versions.
I dig them. They're I think that was like at the age where I started like actually like taking care of stuff. Because the Cordikas, when I was like, I was just like, it was like my first wave getting really into it and everything. And so I think all my Zamor spheres are still like in my case or in my canisters, just because I kept them all in there because it was like I didn't want to lose them like the Rotuka spinners. But I really dug them because they actually, like you were talking about, they could hurt people. Like they had some oomph to the firing of them. Like whenever you actually like shot the weapon, it would like.
That's mainly because it was a very efficient pressure-loaded launcher.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's the biggest strength behind it is that when you shot one, it actually felt like you were, like you just said, like shooting something that was pressure-loaded, like. You were firing a gun in a way,
right?
And I thought it was really cool. And like, I remember with that one, we would like, me and some of my friends like set up like we had Baraka, and I'm with you. I thought it was a Anika like this whole time.
Yeah.
But the Baraka and the Anika, we would like set them up, and you could have like, you could do games and stuff where like you could fire them at each other and be pretty accurate with your aiming and everything. So I agree. I would put them pretty high compared to the others.
For sure.
Yeah.
Trib, how about you? Zamor spheres.
All right. So, going back to what we were talking about when it comes to like the amount of pressure and stuff like that the Zamor spheres tend to have for like the Zamor launcher, because it indeed like made quite a heft of pressure whenever you fired it. And I remember, in later years, I believe it was like in 2013 or something like that, I made a custom Technic gun that shooted the Nerf the Zamor spheres in a Nerf battle. So instead of carrying a Nerf gun, I was using Zamor spheres. And of course, it was motorized and stuff like that, so it allowed for a lot more heavier impact. But going back to Zamor spheres, especially the Paraka, because the big issue with those were that they were always falling out, the actual balls themselves.
All the time.
Which, the funny thing is that LEGO actually did solve that remedy. However, it didn't made it through to final production. I'll post some concept art photos here of the Paraka, and as you can tell, like the Zamor spheres are wrapped by 4 prongs instead of 3. I'm guessing why they made the change was because they needed the magazine capability for the toy Anika. So probably that's why they scrapped it. But still, like, it would have been nice. Maybe they could have like customized it in a way where you could just attach a prong on the top segment, and still have like it not fall out without needing customization or something like that. But it is very fascinating to see, and I gotta post it in voice text right now. Concept art.
No, yeah. I mean, it was like it was the furthest from what I could recall and most hardcore launcher they had made yet. I believe, let me know if I'm wrong, but there were some glow-in-the-dark Zamor spheres. Maybe there weren't.
There were not.
One thing I remember, especially with the Anika version, was Nuparu came with different colored ones than the ones that were advertised on his canister. On his canister, they were red, but then the ones that he actually came with were more like orange, yellow. And I just remember being like, the ones on the can look cool. And I remember I had a friend who he had the same set and they were red, and I was like, there must have been some misprint or there must have been some disorganization with putting those Zamor spheres in the top of that container. Yeah,
there were red Zamor spheres, but I also had the same thought. Like, why did LEGO lie to us? Like, they advertised Nuparu with red because black and red together is dope, but when you got it, they were like blood orange, not red.
Right. Let me see. I'm gonna pull up.
What's interesting too is that I googled that, and some of the images, most of the images of the Anika and Nuparu have orange and red, like a combination.
Yeah.
And I also noticed that Nuparu's original Matoran design has him with an orange mask. So I wonder if that's why.
It makes sense.
It makes sense.
Like, that's the only orange thing on him,
right.
other than his mask. Is like his Anika form had orange Zamor spheres, and his Matoran form had an orange Bakari. Other than his mask, he was just a black and gray, like typical Onu Matoran.
Here's an image that Tributron sent me, which is like a cool artsy, like different take on a Zamor launcher where it would have held it a little better. That's pretty nuts. That's a really cool. That's a cool looking figure right there. That looks better than any G2 figures. Wow, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, like, why couldn't we got these for the Paraka?
Wow.
But I still like the design they went with. But man, it just looking at the concept art
I
Like
know the lore behind the Zamor spheres too.
Is this concept art or what?
Yeah, this is actual concept art for the Paraka. So what you're looking at here,
Whoa.
people, is Zaktan, and I also posted one of Vezok, Avak, and Radek.
Wow, I have never seen these. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So yeah, let's move on. So I mean, basically, yeah, that's Zamor spheres. Definitely put them higher up in there, just because I think they were definitely iconic for in all the commercials. The Paraka using them, the Anika using them. We're definitely higher up for sure.
The lore behind the Zamor spheres is that the Paraka had antidermis Zamor spheres, which is what enslaved the Matoran, and then the Anika had protodermis, energized protodermis to be specific, in their Zamor spheres, which was an antidote for that infection. There were like some others that were just like few and far between, but that didn't really matter in the grand scheme of things.
That is interesting to note, because they would basically capture them using the Zamor spheres.
Interesting how Hakan's concept art looks like Jala's calyx.
Yeah, cool concept art though. Thanks for sending those over. All right.
Yeah, of course.
So next we got the one, the only Squid Launcher. So we were going into we're going into the depths of Mari Nui with the underwater. You know what? I don't know. They're not the worst. No, they're pretty bad. I get I think from a storytelling perspective, it's definitely kind of cool that they were incorporating these live little creatures and animals that had their own little abilities underwater and shooting them around. It made them as like these, Baraki warlords, kind of more fearful and like definitely more like kind of not really giving much of a hoot about like the various creatures living within the ocean, because they would just attach them to their guns. My memories with this, when I first saw it, I was like, how is this going to work? And then, of course, you get the instruction booklet. You see that you can pull it back, but it was hard. The worst aspect probably of this launcher is just that it's very difficult. Like, you could pull it far back and let go, and it wouldn't even exit the launcher. That would just happen because they would get stuck, or they were too rubbery and sticky. Overall, all in all, like I said, I want to share this story though, that I was at a Lego store in 2007, and they were having a contest for shooting the Squid Launchers, and lo and behold, I, showed up on the day, and I said, let me give it a shot. And I'd been practicing.
Is that a pun?
Yeah. I'd been practicing with them for so long that I managed to get pretty far, and I was the best shot out of every kid that walked into the Lego store. And so a month later, I was mailed a copy of a Bionicle Ignition comic with Greg Farshty's signature on it. He signed it for me personally. So I have it safe somewhere. I'm pretty sure my mom has it somewhere back home. But that's just like my story with the Squid Launcher, which is why I'm still nostalgic for it. And even in the videos, in the advertisements for the Baraki, it was still pretty cool to see them shooting these, at each other. But when it comes to function, when it comes to conceptual aspects, yeah, Squid Launchers are definitely more bottom tier for sure. They're almost a meme. But Gio, go ahead. You can go ahead and talk, or even provide us any lore at all if you can, on the Baraki Squid Launchers.
The Baraki Squid Launchers, lore-wise, the Baraki just had carnivorous squids, and they wanted to shoot them at people. That's it.
Here's the box that you could get extra.
Where they should go is
Yeah, just make sure you turn the safety off, for those squid launchers.
But yeah, I remember the little boxes you could get of squid launchers. They were like multicolored. They weren't the color that you would get in the sets for the Baraki. But yeah, anything else you have to say, Gio, about the squid launcher? I guess you've said all you need to say. All right, HQ Bacon.
They suck.
How about you? Your experiences with the squids?
I mean, I genuinely think, like, the first Baraki set I got was Kalma. Is that the red one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got Kalma, and I think I tried the squid launcher once, and then I put the squid in the canister and never took it out again. Like, it was like straight up, it was like I tried it one time. I was like, this does not work the way that they think it should. And then I was like, whatever, it's not important. And I just put it up. And so, yeah, I think I would rate this at the bottom, like pretty low. It's it's in the pit. It should be the bottom one. Like, it's just not, I don't know. It's not very effective. It looks cool, but even when, at least for my experience, like, if I recall correctly, you have to like shove the head into the outs, like the gun.
And I think the biggest design flaw, cool. The biggest design flaw of that, like, you had to literally shove the entire like mouth of the squid inside it, and even then,
let me pull up the video.
Intended.
This is a video on the functionality. Let's see. Oh, come on.
So I also don't know how many people we can fit in here, but we do have somebody in the waiting room as well.
Yeah, I saw that. Let me, I'll pull him in a second. I'm trying to pull up this video.
Okay.
Whoa, Streamlabs, why you do this?
Because it's Streamlabs, and it sucks.
Oh my
so you're officially putting squid at the bottom?
Yeah.
It's the pit.
Gonna have to put squid at the bottom just because from what everyone, I think we're definitely unanimous in our resolve with this. It's interesting because in
interesting concept, great idea,
right,
poor execution.
I said they're not all gonna be winners. You know what I mean? Like, they're, I don't know. And I think the ones that they come up with later.
Why is Rotuka so high on that list?
Oh, I don't know. I'm gonna
underneath Kanoka Discs.
Yeah.
We're gonna at the end of this, we're gonna go through and really hammer out where our like full on placements are. This was just from earlier. But yeah, I don't know, Tributon, what do you have to say real quick about Squid Launchers?
Squid Launchers, if I were to, since we already talked well about like the Squid Launchers already, the only thing I would really add is if we were to go ahead and redesign the Squid Launcher, do not make the Squid Launcher out of rubber. Go with a very hard, durable plastic, possibly
make
ABS.
The cup bigger.
Yes, and that as well. And maybe it would work more effectively because you won't have that stick issue. But other than that, or maybe not even use squids. Maybe use like piranhas or something. That would be interesting.
Here we go. Here's the video on how to use the Squid Launchers. So yeah, you could store them on the back of some of the Baraki, like Kalma here. And you stick it in and pull it back.
You had them on the arms. I think Tridax had them on the arms too.
And you could put it in your fingers, slip it in. I mean, it's a very good instructional video.
Don't say that.
Wait a minute. You know what would be cool? I just realized something. Okay, because all the Baraki have the pincers thing. What if you combine the pincers and the claw and the Squid Launcher together, so you can have like underwater Vaki kind of dealio?
Whoa!
Except it doesn't suck.
Wait, I didn't.
Are you trying to say the Vaki's Kanoka Discs suck?
No, the Squid Launcher. Like
I'm gonna. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm talking about like make Squid Launcher good, right? The Squid Launcher good does not suck. Then use Squid Launcher and integrate it into the head of said Baraki so that they can spit out like like the squids, either that or like maybe have them shoot out the chest and other parts of the body, or maybe some of them could be a handheld weapon or a arm cannon. You know, mix it up. You know, have some more diversity.
See, I think that's actually a really good idea too. Is like
got 5 people
implementing
in here now.
something like that.
Yeah, we do. We have Spo Senju. I'm gonna do a little editing, but how's it going there? Are you here? Are you with us?
Yep, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, totally.
Oh,
do you have anything to say about Squid Launchers?
Truthfully, I thought the Squid Launchers they're getting a lot of undeserved hate.
Oh.
Like the functionality themselves, like you guys like have already gone over. It was a great idea. Like, you know, the idea of the squid. Like, I love that idea, but like, you know, the execution was really poor. Like, they didn't really do a good job with that. But yeah, other than that, I really dig the concept of, like, you know, like the actual live creatures underwater. Like you said prior, like it gave the Baraki like a more scary feel, like in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah, and the different colors too. I really wish we would have gotten the different colors like on the actual sets, because I would have killed for one of the blue squids. Like those were so cool to me, honestly.
Yeah, no, and I was like lucky enough to like grab a bunch when I was at a Lego store one time, just because I was able to see them there. I was able to pull them in and all that. So definitely, definitely from what I'm reading in the chat too, a lot of people are saying, yeah, they agree. They agree pretty much with everything we've said so far, which I can totally understand. You know, at the end of the day, it is what it is. They just were very hard. They were very hard to actually use, like the function itself. And then just being able to, for me, like being able to be in a random competition where like I'm against a bunch of kids who didn't really know how to use them, and I'm in the Lego store like, you know what? I'm gonna show everyone here, and I managed to pull it off. Yeah, it's a good story.
I agree with C Moss, because C Moss in the comments said that they said it looks so cool in the commercial with a sad face, and I agree, because I saw that commercial. There's a part of me that was like, that did a really good job of selling like this not good product.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that maybe that's just my ignorance, but I didn't even realize that the Baraki had little like things on them that could like hold the squids in place. Like, I thought that was kind of cool. And I don't know. I'm kind of with Trib, where I'm like, I wish it was just a little better executed rather than just like a gun. You know,
yeah, more integrated. Yeah.
That commercial honestly did a great it was really like what's it called? It made it look a lot more easier than it was, because from my experience, like even when like the little pieces that would hold the squids on the Baraki, it wouldn't even hold the squids that much. Like they would fall. I would always find them falling off, and I'd be trying to pose. Or like even at that age, when I was playing with them still, you know, it wouldn't. You know, so yeah, the commercial was very deceiving.
I hear you there, 110%. All right, let's see.
Only Lovis was here. If Lovis was here for his 2 cents, and I'm certain that he would agree with us. But he knows more about marine biology than I think any one of us.
I like that we got Spo Senju in here though.
The squids attaching to the Baraki remind me of suckerfish or remora that attach to sharks and whales.
Right.
Yeah. Well, there's also I'll send it here, because now I just looked up, because we were looking at Karaka concept art. And there's a Baraki concept art that does do what Trib is talking about, where it implements the weapon into the body of the Baraki.
And it's in a very inconvenient spot.
Yeah, I don't know. Are we family friendly on this stream?
That's fine.
I'd like to think we are.
I say because number one, this might be NSFW.
This is great. I need to. Everyone watching needs to see this.
Because some of all the comments are like, one of them said it's a cocket rocket, is what it says.
There's plenty of fish in the sea, they always say.
Let me see if I can pull up this image for everyone. Let me see if I can pull up this.
It's,
Is this actual concept art though, or is this a joke?
It's official. It's by they said it's made by Christopher Woollett.
What was he thinking? Oh my gosh! Everybody watching along right now, you are not ready for this. No, this is fine. We can show.
He's got a serious case of the squids.
Oh
man, you just made me ink. Comma, probably.
All right, here we go. This is the concept art of Squid Launchers for Baraki. I don't know what the heck's going on here.
Oh, that is cold. You can see why they didn't make it to production.
Oh my god, what were they thinking?
That's the neat part. They weren't.
When I saw that, I was like, wow, initially, I was like, wow, that is more unique. Like, that's exactly what we were talking about. And then the more I looked at it, the more repulsed I was. And I was like,
this is wild concept art.
Yeah.
This is something.
Can you imagine presenting that to Lego and being like, this is what we're doing next?
I mean,
after the Paraka, it's and like.
I can't.
I just want to be a fly on the wall in the conversations that they had about this art.
Yeah. No,
I can't imagine what they were talking about. Hey, that's safe for kids.
Pretty cool.
That's wild. That's crazy. People are going crazy in the chat. They're going, "Oh my god, Baraki, what?" But yeah, all right. So Squid Launcher, bottom tier for sure. Until we move on, let's go. Or until we get to the final list at the end, let's talk about Cordak blasters. Now, this was 2007, but now we have the Toamari, essentially with these just like huge launchers. From what I recall, it would shoot one at a time, but every time you press it, the function actually worked very well. I mean, the little missiles weren't great to find, like they were hard to find, and they definitely broke very easily from what I remember. And I don't recall them ever selling them separately. So like the ones you got with the sets were the ones you got. I don't remember there being separate boxes of Cordak blaster like ammo. Do you guys remember that?
No,
no. There was no. I don't think there was any retail like spare Cordak blaster ammunition.
In my opinion,
Like
this should have
rockets.
been one of the ones they did that the most for, because these were the ones that I ended up losing the most.
Right.
Yeah.
I definitely remember losing these. They would probably, from what I remember now, they would give you a handful of extra, probably just enough.
They would give you
load
like
it again.
2 or 4 in case you lose a few on the Toamari and the Titans.
But yeah, I guess
that's the problem. Like, there is like you gave like Lego gave us extra ammo for the ammo that was impossible to lose.
Right. I mean,
and then they didn't give us anything for the ammo that actually did something.
I guess when I'm thinking about like.
By the way, both Spo and I are frozen on stream.
It might just be a lot of video for my for my thing to handle, honestly. Let's see.
Yeah.
But where would you guys hold these? If you want, you guys could turn your video on or off. It doesn't really matter. Because the audio, I definitely know everyone can hear you at least. But
yeah, for sure.
When it comes to like, I don't know. When it comes to like, here, let me go. Oh no, your guys' video was working. I just had to pull it up. There we go. It's a little laggy, but it's fine. When it comes to the Cordak blasters, I think when you have to think about your ranking of them or when you think about them, there's definitely the fact that the function worked. I think conceptually they look very cool, very like badass. And the ability to like repeat shots, you get like 6 like opportunities to shoot, and I remember like Kongu, I think it like has 2 of them, so that was a cool look. But I don't know, Gio, when it comes to Cordak blasters lore, or just not even lore, but like just functionality and everything, like where would you put them on your list? How would you say like they stand against a lot of the other ones?
The Cordak blasters are fun to use, but they only worked half the time, which is an improvement over the last launcher.
Right.
But like working half the time is better than not working at all.
Mm-hmm.
And the fun part is mocking with like making custom Cordak blasters. Like I just posted into voice chat like one of my mocks that I did earlier this year.
Oh yeah, because I remember you did the toy mark.
Oh
yes, I remember that. Oh man.
Oh yeah,
such
that's
a good
sick.
build.
That's awesome. I'll pull it up. But yeah, anything else you have to say about Cordak?
I mean, like, there were some things that you could do with the Cordak blasters. The problem is that it didn't like get a good enough vacuum in it. You weren't exactly supposed to have a vacuum in there anyway, but like all the air that you had in the blaster itself could escape, and that would leave a seal inside the blaster itself, which would cause the rockets not to fire.
Right.
And since it's an air blaster, you would want to have air in it.
Totally. Discord images. Yeah.
It's better. It's better than the last launcher, but it's not the best one, but it's still, I think, is pretty good.
HQ Bacon, how about you for Cordak, the Cordak launchers?
Like I said earlier, I think they're, for me actually, they're pretty close to the top in terms of like how cool they look. Because I think that like Gio was talking about with like mocking, where it's like you've got the ball on one side and then you've got the the cross piece on the other, so you can use you can connect it to your set in like cool ways and stuff like that.
Or you can make custom ones from scratch, like I did.
Exactly, yeah. And like I didn't lose them as much just because I never used them, which is a con. Like I just never really shot them because I knew that I could lose them or that they wouldn't work. But like when it comes to just like sheer look, I think that I really like the Gatling gun kind of look to it.
I mean, it kind of was like lore wise, it's a 6-barreled rocket launcher.
Right. And it was like I don't know. I just have fond memories of it. Like and it's big, but it looks like it's got like actual weight, which adds to like the feel of the weapon. I don't know if that makes sense, but like
makes sense to me.
Yeah, like it actually like looks like it would have some heft, and it looks like it would be something that like somebody going into combat would have, which is something that I'm not sure that like some of the other ones established as well, if that makes sense. So I like it a lot, even if I didn't really use it much as a kid playing. Like it was still one that like when I think about, honestly, I think whenever I think about Bionicle guns, that's like one of the first ones, if not the first one I think of.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I mean, they were awesome in the in the Toamari commercial too, just like seeing them in action with Kongu and everything.
Oh, and like the water trails behind the bullets, like the bubble trails as they went through.
Yeah.
You could put them in the tub and you could fire them and it would work.
No way.
So I think that's how they were meant to be used. Like you were supposed to bring your Toamari into like a pool or a tub with you.
Wait, actually?
Then,
I never thought about that. Wouldn't they just float upwards though?
Like it's meant to be like pushing out air originally, but if it's replaced with water, I mean, I know there's a spring in the back of that red drum, so you're not supposed to keep it in water for very long. But
everyone watching, if you could get a video of you shooting one underwater, that'd be sweet.
Okay.
I don't know if it would work that well, but it would make sense in context of what they're supposed to look like and the lore.
Here's Captain Geo's mock of Kongu with 4, count 'em, 4 Cordak blasters. Why not?
Why not?
Yeah,
this just in, BioTuber goes in a tub.
That mock has been featured. I put it on Reddit, and it's been featured on the Bionicle Inspiration series that Ben Cossie does.
Yeah.
And I think he liked it, so that works.
Yeah, that's a great mock. Trib, how about you with Cordak blasters? Cordak launcher.
Cordak launchers, they are very nice looking guns. I'll say that again and again. You know, we all like them, but however, when it comes to like trying to incorporate them in a mock, you know, they look good on a mock, you know, because they have plenty of connection points. But for like creative usages, for using it for something else, you know, I was a while back was trying to develop a one-way gear system that turns via press of the button. However, you know, the gears available and the parts available that Lego produces does not allow for that type of mechanic to necessarily work.
Huh.
But with the Cordak launcher, you can actually pull it off. The only issue is that the Cordak launcher is huge, you know. So, but it is like interesting, you know, to think about it. Like the one-way system, you know, you go press a button and, you know, it rotates in one direction, one rotation only. You can't exactly replicate that with vanilla Lego.
I'm going to grab one thing 1 second, but Spo, Senju, how about you? Cordak blasters.
So, like, you know, we all love the design. I think the design was phenomenal, one of the best looking blasters. However, you know, like Captain Geo was saying, the functionality, you know, I could never really get all 6 to shoot in a row. Like, you can get maybe, you know, 3, 4, 5, but, like, there would always be one that wouldn't come out. And, well, what I always think back to with design wise was that the trailer, the like I don't know if you guys have to remember the like the little Brocky movie when the Mario are like fighting, and it's just they're all like gearing up and stuff. And,
yeah,
like, they just made it look.
The one with Crashed by Daughtry.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Oh, it's so good. But they just made him look so cool. Like I said, you know, design great. Like I love how Kongu like was dual wielding them on like it's the coolest thing to me. I just wish they you know, they worked like it's like the Lego kind of had like opposite problems. Like, you know, the design would be great and they wouldn't work, or like design would be bad but they would work great. It's like, you know, I really wish they had like this was the one to, you know, make perfect. But yeah, great design, you know, but unfortunately the functionality wasn't up to par.
That's fair. That's fair. I think they fixed the problems with that with the Midax, with the Ninra Ghost Blaster, but we haven't gotten to that one yet. So I think Triv is the last one to give his 2 cents on this.
Only thing I would say about the Cordak launcher, despite being a very good design, is sometimes the bullets will jam. I don't think we talked about that much.
We did.
Yeah, we did.
Like, yeah, they would jam because they didn't have enough air behind it.
Yeah, that too.
All right, I'm back.
I wish they fixed that, you know, a little bit better, make it more airtight.
We got 20 concurrent viewers. Thanks everyone for watching. Before we head on to the next launcher, let me just read some of the comments that we've gotten. We've gotten a lot. Let's start with, people love the Zamor spheres from what it looks like. Sometimes they're frustrating. No, they weren't glow-in-the-dark Zamor spheres. Yeah, Seamal says red would have been better because New Peru's drill glowed red. Like I said, in some of the artwork, his Zamor spheres were red, and then in some containers you would get red, but some you wouldn't.
I think it may have been I think it may have been a miscommunication in the warehouse.
Right.
Like all the Toa Inika's Zamor spheres were supposed to match the LED light of their weapon.
Pinch of Basil says the problem is you couldn't pull the tail back and keep it level with the front of the launcher. You were always at an angle, and that made it super awkward. Yeah, that was. And
it always made it shoot down because physics.
Yeah.
Totally. Which meant you had to angle it upwards in order for it to shoot straight where you wanted it to go.
Yeah. So, the Pinch of Basil says,
if it did shoot at all.
Yeah, if you can manage to get it to shoot.
Bioscrowl says Cordak blasters felt kind of cumbersome to me. Some people say functionality worked.
It's big and bulky. That's the problem with it. It's big and bulky.
Yeah. People mostly liked them. People said, yeah, they did look badass. Cassiana says, I wish they'd given Kongu Mari some sort of dagger or staff, at least, instead of just 2 Cordak blasters. Maybe.
Lore-wise,
It was a cool
Kongu
look.
did have a sword. Lore-wise, Kongu did have a weapon before he grabbed 2 Cordak blasters. And later, back on Metro Nui, he ditched the Cordak blasters, or at least one of them, for another weapon. We don't know exactly what it is, but he has a melee weapon other than the Cordak blasters.
Cool.
Interesting.
Well, so
but
that
I like the idea of him having 4.
Was that was the Cordak blaster, and now we head on to 2008 with the Toa Mystica and the Midax Sky Blaster. Now this was actually not Mystica. This was included with the Fantaka sets. You had Fantoka sets. Midax Sky Blaster you had with Kopaka and with Lewa and Pohatu, right? Yeah. And essentially what this is doing is it's reusing the Zamor spheres, but in an interesting way.
Not a bad thing. Not a bad thing.
Where you could, I think, pump this full of three of them, or 3 or 4 of them, and then
you were able to put 4 of them in there.
Yeah, so you got 4 Zamor spheres or Midax spheres.
So this
I guess,
this is the Zamor sphere launcher on steroids, because this is actually spring loaded, and it's a hefty spring at that.
From what I remember, yeah, I mean it would.
You could break things with this launcher.
Yeah,
you could break things with this launcher, because it's a spring loaded launcher that's launching plastic, like solid plastic. It's not like a Nerf dart where you hit something and like, oh, no, nothing's bad.
This one
if you
definitely.
shoot like a TV screen or a monitor, like a computer monitor with it, it will break.
In lore, were the Toa Nuva, or at least the 3 that we got, like given them?
Okay. In lore, the Midax Sky Blaster shot balls of light, and they were trying to keep it as a last resort weapon, because every time they shot it, like the light from around them would decrease, and the Makuta's power would increase.
Oh, interesting.
So they wanted to use it as sparingly as possible.
Oh, wow. I mean, so it's essentially Zamor Sphere on steroids. It's kind of pretty cool then, I guess you could say. I don't know. Like HQ
Midax
Bacon.
Sky Blaster, in my opinion, it's S tier. Midax Sky Blaster is S tier because it looks good. It works as intended, and it hits hard.
Right.
Like, it'll knock down a figure.
I definitely agree.
I full-heartedly agree, especially when it came to the vehicles, because, just switch those, like your Axelara around or what have you. You pull that trigger, and it's like bam, 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 down go Makuta.
And they were accurate.
Oh yeah.
HQ, how about you? Your experience with your thoughts on the Midax Sky Blasters?
I kind of agree with what everybody else is saying, where it's like, it's kind of like the Zamor sphere, but like, it's got. I don't know. I wish that if because you're right in like the balls of light, but I wish that the way they represented balls of light were not dull gray.
Like they could have been gold or white or something.
Yeah, if they did something like that,
or like glow in the dark.
Only,
they could have been like glow in the dark.
That's my only big qualm with the gun, because it's got the strengths of the Cordak blaster, where it's like it looks big, it looks powerful, it looks like it has weight to it, like those kinds of advantages. Like
it's got a metal spring back there,
right? And so like you add all of those things together, and I really like the way it shoots. It would shoot very like you could actually like the Zamor sphere, you could actually aim at stuff, and it was really effective. That's my only thing, is I just wish that if you told me that it was a weapon of light, or that if you just told 12-year-old me, like, hey, the next Bionicle weapon is going to be a gun that shoots light, I would not have pictured like a black and gray like thing that shoots gray balls. You know what I mean? So I don't hate it. I think I would put it in like upper to S tier of like the weapons, that's literally my only like issue with it, is that I just wish it had a little bit of a cooler design to it in what it's actually shooting.
Totally, I hear you there.
You wish you had more context to it. Yeah, but that's mainly due to the fact that it's the ammo that you're criticizing mainly, and not the launcher itself.
Right. Yeah. So the gun, I think that's like, I think the Midax Sky Launcher is like the peak of what Bionicle like was getting to with weapons. Like I think that's like, they improved upon everything they needed to improve upon to make like the best kind of launcher that they could. I just wish that what you were launching was a little more interesting.
You're taking the Zamor launcher and the Cordak blaster and mixing the two together.
Right.
That's what the Midax. That's what the Midax Sky Blaster is.
Cool.
Right.
Anyone else have Tributon thoughts on?
Yes.
Midax Sky Blaster.
I love the Midax Sky Blaster, but because of me, I always like to think of, how could I make it better or something like that. Even though it is a perfect design, I love it. What if it had like a hopper system where you can actually put in an additional magazine to said Midax Sky Blaster and just shoot up to like maybe 8 bullets or something? That would be pretty cool. But to go into the lore, since it does shoot out balls of light, something that they could have done, which at the time they already had like some like ideas in terms of like design and stuff like that. The Lightstone rifle. Well, if they took like a few attributes from that and incorporated those designs into the Midax Sky Blaster, that way it will feel like, ooh, this is actually shooting light. You can have like yellow crystals of Lightstone, throughout the Midax Sky Blaster, or even having like the clear plastic, So it would be like the black part would be like silver, but like the entire like back part would be like a transparent like yellow or something like that.
No,
just a slight change. It would be cool to see.
Definitely,
but then again, it will be brittle.
Yeah, supposed to send
plastic.
Your thoughts on the Midax Sky Blaster?
Yeah, real quick, these definitely packed a punch. Like, definitely shot like the hardest in my opinion out of all the previous launchers. The design is phenomenal. It's essentially a rocket launcher. You could kind of see how like the back kind of hang on someone's shoulder, had to be life size, and like, so I thought the design was really good. It's funny, Captain Geo was talking about how you can like essentially break a monitor if you shot one close enough, and I actually happened to it.
Oh wow!
Yeah, a while back when I had a Fandoka, I had Kopaka. He was my first one, and I was at the time, what's that, 2008. So I was like about like maybe 10, 11, 12, and so I was just shooting, and it created like probably like an inch of dead pixels like on the corner of my monitor, and that's when I realized, I was like, wow, like these things really pack a punch. And with the vehicles, how like with the vehicle functions, they would pop out on the sides, and I thought they worked perfectly for that. So yeah, I think these are definitely an S tier launcher.
Yeah. All right. Sweet. Well, that's the Midax Sky Blaster. A lot more powerful than any Lego toy had any right being. I don't think we ever really saw them again after 2008.
No, we saw them in 2009. The Thornax V9.
Thornax.
Yeah, the one that had Tridax piloting it. It had 4 of them.
Yeah, 4.
Wait, yeah, wait.
Oh, don't forget Scopio. He had like 2, I believe.
2 on the top. But the Thornax, the one vehicle said everyone wanted, other than Scopio, had 4 Midax Sky Blasters in them. And I think they were meant to be an engine instead of actual guns. I think that's what it was supposed to convey, but you could still use it as it was originally intended to be used.
Well, that just adds some more like headcanon, where like the engine shoots out its own pistons at any opponent.
It's like Zombieland, where you have the vehicles just armed to the teeth.
Yeah.
All right.
Because you had to think it's a wasteland area.
Yeah, I guess so. All right, so for the next one now, I was considering not including this, but I think it's worth going over just because it did have its own function. And that was, you guys probably don't exactly know what I'm going to bring up, but this is the Makuta Shadow Leeches.
Tridax pods.
Yep.
Right.
Now,
that's still considered a launcher.
It's still a launcher because their chest opens up and out of the cavity comes this little ball that explodes and it has the Shadow Leeches in it. So it still was a cool idea. And did it have any function like a gun or something? No, not really. But
it was meant to be like an airstrike. It was meant to drop out of the sky.
From the sky. So
it worked. It worked as intended. Gravity did all the work.
Right. So I almost forgot, and then I was like, oh wait, I remember now. So the Shadow Leeches, yeah, I remember being like, this is interesting. You know, they're rubber like the squids. It kind of looks cool to have this little ball with these little translucent dudes just chilling in their chest cavities. It looked cool for design. And yeah, just in the commercial for the Fentoka, just like all of them going yum 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 yum. It's very it's definitely an iconic shot of these little leeches. Just so yeah, I mean, personally, I don't like it. It's when you're talking about did it like succeed in its function? Yeah, and it definitely looked cool. So, and from a storytelling perspective, it's how they were able to take off Matoran and turn them into Shadow Matoran, basically. So, definitely important part of the sets that year. And outside from, we'll get into the Niners next, but outside from that, these are really what we were going up against with the Midax Skyblasters at the same type the first 6 months of 2008. I don't have much else to say, but you can go ahead, Gio, on the Shadow Leeches.
The Tridax pods and the Shadow Leeches.
Tridax pods, yeah.
So, lore-wise, the Shadow Leeches, they were created by Makuta Mutran. And they were meant to drain the light out of any being that had any. So, lore-wise, I think it did their job. As far as playability-wise, I think it also did their job because it was meant to work like an airstrike. And you could put in like 3 or 4, but I was able to fit in at most 6 into one Tridax pod at a time. It didn't mean that they would spread out as far, but you could fit in 6 if you tried. So it doesn't go far. Like it can only go as far as you can hold it, but it still works as intended. It works as an airstrike.
Cool. Yeah. How about you, HQ Bacon?
I think these are similar to like what the I mean this in like a positive way, surprisingly, but I actually think that they're similar to the squids, where they're trying to like implement like these like living creatures, but I think that they actually do what the squid like wanted to do, which is like it actually implements it in like a natural and kind of interesting way. Like I like the fact that it's not just like a gun that the Makuta have. I like that it's like something else. And like as a kid, like as a kid, you've got like Makuta, and he's like making these like Rakshi out of like the parts of himself, and it's got like this unnatural kind of like idea to it, I guess. And I really like the idea that like you're playing with a Makuta that has like those creatures inside of it again, similar to how the Rakshi was and the Krana was, and that kind of thing. And I don't know. I think the Makuta that I have from 2008, I think they still have the leeches in the little capsule. Like I think I've left them in there.
Yeah, I did too.
And it's just I think in it, it's one of those like it's got the best of both worlds. In addition to being like practical, it also I think it's just like a really killer design too.
Totally. I agree. Tributron.
Yes. So, to bring up on the Tridax pods, like I really do agree that like if it weren't for like the Squid Launchers, we wouldn't be able to see such level of integration. The Squid Launchers basically crawled so that shadow leeches can run.
Yeah.
It's something that is very well integrated. It definitely plays in for like a story narrative, very well. These are like these evil beings that should rain down shadowy minions, to infect the weak. It's great for a visual narrative perspective, and I think it was like something that was very strong for this year. When it came like to the set designs all the way down to the weapons and stuff like that as well. Though also another interesting fact about the lore is along with Mutram, Makuta Tridax also helped in designing like the shadow leeches,
That's where the Tridax pod came from.
Yeah, exactly.
Named after Tridax.
Exactly. And I posted a mock of that I did of him over in the VC to text. It doesn't use the same Makuta torso as like all the other Makuta sets use.
Yeah.
Which is something that I wanted to bring up. I do like what they did with the torsos for the Makuta. The only complaint that I have is the wobbly head.
Right.
Yeah,
that was the only downside. I wish it was like an axle connection or something like that, similar to that of the Toametru.
Yeah, like all they ever used in those torsos were axles through the pinhole. That was it.
Yeah.
Like that was the flaw of the actual like 2008 Makuta torso. Like they should have made it an axle connection, not a pin.
Yeah. I don't know why they did that. I
don't know why either.
Because like it would kind of make sense if they were planning to do like something creative with that torso, like maybe it acts as a slider or something like that, or some other type of mechanism. But I don't know. It's weird.
Right. Suppose Senju, how about you?
Visually, I liked them just mostly because I was a fan of like the actual squid from the Squid Launchers, so it definitely reminded me of them.
Yeah,
I
same.
really liked how both the pod and the actual leeches were translucent. That was also a really great touch in my opinion, and it's very simple, so and it did it as intended. I just wish, because lore base, the leeches were supposed to kind of like grab onto the Matoran and stuff, so I wish you can like kind of attach them, like there was a better way to attach them, because in my experience what I would do is they would really only fit on the tips of some of the weapons, so like, that's really the only place I would be able to put them. So like that's like my only con, because like it's very very simple, so it was really hard to mess this up. And since they're both translucent, I thought they looked great in the pod and everything, but I just definitely wish they were able to easily attach onto other
Yeah,
Totally.
I agree.
Yeah, this is one of those ones that sounds like we're all kind of in agreement that like conceptually from the design, the look, I mean, they really they're very cool. They're like a really fun thing to just kind of hide your little leeches into these Tridax pods and have them in the chest cavities of pretty much all the Makuta, besides the ones that came out during the Mystica line. But aside from that, I'm glad I remembered, because I almost forgot to include these, so I'm totally glad I did. Before we get going, let me read what some people are saying in the chat. Midax Bioscross says Midax Skyblaster and Ghost Blaster were definitely my personal favorite. CMOS says the Skyblaster was essentially a baby toy BB gun. Yeah, pretty much. Cassiano Urbano says the Midax Skyblaster rocks, but like I said, their projectiles when bouncing are sent to oblivion, never to be found again. They were good that they were reused in Glatorian vehicles, right? Yeah, Thornax V9 had 4 of them. CMOS and we got Airthen Alfaro. Howdy, how's it going? Cassiano says Mazika was on Batista steroids. They were called Force Blasters for some reason. Okay, interesting. Yeah, those were a nightmare finding leeches. It was cool, but man, the leeches were awesome for eye alternative to Borak ones. That's a cool idea. The Shadow Leeches were mutated Krata, I think. Is that true, Gio? Do you know? Mutated Krata? Maybe. I don't know.
Biosector knows.
Cassiano Urbano says, I would have loved to see a parallel dimension short story where Akmu was attacked by Shadow Leeches instead of Takanuva becoming the first Toa of Shadows. And that would have been a cool story, right? A what-if scenario. The Makuta Fantolica were sort of Bionicle's take on Neo Shifters. A little bit. Instead of a little buddy, it was a pod that opened up, but definitely a little bit kind of like that. Yeah, no, I mean, I agree totally with you guys. It sounds like most people, though, are on the same board with Midax Skyblaster being, when it comes to function and kind of a sleek design, S tier for sure.
Okay, so I have the Biosector page up here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Shadow Leeches were created by Makuta Mutran, Ferox, and Tridax using a virus. Could be launched from Tridax pods. They were developed and were used as a weapon against the Avmatoran by the Brotherhood of the Makuta. So if any of the Avmatoran became a Toa, it would be a Toa of Shadow. During the experimental phase of the Shadow Leech creation, Destrol was witnessed appearing and leaving several dead mutated Krata left behind. So, in a way, yes, they were originally mutated Krata.
Yeah, in a way. That's interesting to know. Yeah, cool. Thanks for that. All right, so without further ado, we head on to the second to last launcher, which is the Ninra Ghost Blaster. Now this Ninra Ghost Blaster came with Mystica as well as the Makuta of summer 2008. And these were essentially an air pump that had these a lot safer ammo as far as from what I remember, because they were made out of like light rubber, almost like a foam. So these wouldn't break anything if you shot them at, who knows, a vase, a flower pot. Definitely less chance that these are going to break things.
It wouldn't hurt anyone. That was the upgrade.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt anyone. So quick turnaround just 6 months later, making this the next weapon of choice. They would fly. I remember the fins on the side allowed them to go pretty far, and depending on the speed of which you pressed that pump in the back, maybe the further they would go. Definitely a cool idea. I liked the look. Obviously, they were pretty clunky. And it was hard to find spots to put them on a lot of the Makuta, I remember, at the time. But, yeah, definitely looked cool.
Since the Makuta had claws for hands.
Yeah, claws for hands. It was hard to exactly find a place to put them. But I remember in the commercial for the Mystica and everything, when they're going to the Cordak, these were definitely visually very cool. And, yeah, for me, not maybe one of the most memorable ones, but they looked good and their functions definitely worked. Definitely easier to find than Shadow Leeches or Zamor spheres that would just roll around everywhere. These would pretty much stop as soon as where they landed. So, yeah, overall, just a good design and definitely, I would say, had a similar function to, in a way, the Cordax, in that, it was using air to pump. It wasn't no spring loaded or anything like the Midax, but
in my opinion, the Ninra Ghost Blaster is the concept of the Cordak blaster realized. So if you look at the actual bolts of the ammo of the Ninra Ghost Blaster, it has a very similar look to the Cordak blaster rocket. It's just bigger. And it works.
Yeah, Gio, any info on lore at all with these? Is there a story reason at all?
Not off the top of my head. Let me look up Biosector again real quick.
Because from what I remember, it was these three Makuta that came out after the first wave of Makuta in 2008 were definitely different as far as they didn't have the Tridax pods because they weren't as high up. They were more in the swamp, you could say.
Yeah, so I just got it up here. So the Ninra Ghost Blasters were designed and named after the group of Matoran crafters known as the Ninra Ghosts on the island of Zia. The the Makuta took the design from the Ninragos and gave it to the Vortex, who crafted several models for the Brotherhood of Makuta. The Ninra Ghost Blasters can be used to channel elemental powers.
Okay.
And that's basically it. So that's the reason why the Makuta have them. It's because Vortex made various versions of the blasters themselves.
Right.
And I'm guessing some survivors of the Ninra Ghosts gave them to Artaka.
Huh.
Yeah, so the Toa Nuva's Mystica's team of projectile weapons, given to them by Artaka, who also gave them the adaptive armor, have taken shape of Ninra Ghost Blasters, though the effect they have is different from the Makuta's models. The Toa Nuva's blasters shoot energy that the Toa then can form into types of energy using their minds. So the Makuta's version has elemental powers, and then the Toa version of it can just be whatever they want it to be.
Right. Okay, interesting. How about HQ Bacon for you? Where do these stand?
I like them a good bit. I agree that they're a little clunky, which is a little bit of a shame because I joined the Bionicle. Like I got into like the Bionicle world after the Toa Nuva had been put out. So when they announced with the Fantaka and the Mystica that you were going to be able to, or however you pronounce them, I forget the official pronunciations, but when they announced those two waves, it was like little kid me was like, finally, I'm going to be able to get like, Tahu and Onua and like my favorite Toa. And I like Onua's design the most of the
Really?
blasters. Yeah, that might be a
Oh, just the
controversial
blaster?
thing. Just the blaster. Yeah.
Okay.
Because
that makes more sense.
Right, it's got like the laser sight, and it's got like a top cover that's kind of
cool.
And he
cool.
wields it like the TF2 heavy, like
Yeah. And I dig that. I think that if all of them had something unique rather than like I don't know, they have different colored projectiles. It's kind of middle of the line for me. I like the look a lot, but I feel like there's a little more that could have been done with it. Because like Tahu's is just, if I remember correctly, Tahu's is just the gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And so like it looks compared to the other stuff.
On it.
Right. Like compared to some of the other stuff, I feel like I feel like it's another one of the ones that are kind of mixed, where it's like it's really good at what it does. It's got a pretty good design, but it's also just kind of bare bones. To me, it's when I forget about it. It's kind of like they needed a gun, and so they were like, let's just slap this gun on there and then make sure it won't break TVs, and now we're good. So it's pretty good. It's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. I just wouldn't like choose it as my favorite.
Totally. Yeah. Trib, how about you?
Well, again, just like we talked about before, I wish that, there was more diversity in the weapon designs, like Onua having like a more heavier looking weapon, while like Gali was going for more of a sniper-like look. I wish there was like more levels of customization you could do with the blaster besides just being so tacked on. If they're not going to be that lazy with the whole gun mechanic, at that point just bring back gear functions, do the classic gearbox at that point. But yeah, not much to comment on it, but I did like the Makuta designs. They were neat.
Right, totally. Suppose Andrew.
For the launchers themselves, I feel they solved the problems for the previous years. They since the 2008, they were breaking things, so they kind of laid back. But the Mari, they wouldn't shoot, so these kind of fixed. We got the best of both worlds with this launcher. And the ammo itself kind of reminded me of like those Nerf footballs, so they're pretty more
Yeah.
aerodynamic. So they got a lot more distance with them. Um, as well as I wish though they look really good for like a Makuta because they kind of do look like an evil type weapon, like mutated kind of. I don't think they look that good on the Toa. Like I think the Toa maybe could have had like a different type of blaster, like just anything else. But yeah, I just the color swap does help like for the Toa, but I don't think that blaster looks like like a Toa good guy weapon. But like we also all agreed on they were kind of lackluster on the Toa as well. Like Tahu just had the blaster, Gali just had him. If I'm not mistaken, just one plastic piece, cause that kind of looks like a recon on. But
Yeah,
Onua's
she had an optic and then a laser
Yeah.
sight, and then Onua just had like a
Yeah.
shell on top of it,
yeah, Onua
along
was
with
like
a laser sight.
yeah, he was like the only one that kind of did justice for it. But yeah, not much to say. But yeah, they worked great.
Yeah. Kind of middle of the road, not too much to complain about. And they did their part. All right. Then, last but not least, can anyone guess where we're going? We're going to Bar Magna.
Stud launchers.
Baramagna.
Oh no, right,
Everyone's
the Thornax
favorite
launchers.
place.
The Thornax launcher. Now, Thornax was interesting because when this was a time of internet where leaks were more readily available, and I remember because I had been doing YouTube for about a year. Not the concept art, but the leaked images for the Glatorian had come out, and we were like, okay, we're on a new world. I just remember seeing these and being like, what are they? Oh yeah, CMOS is going fruit launchers. Like, what is this? A little like spiky fruit, or like it doesn't exactly look like a Zamor sphere. And I mean, from the quality of the photos at the time, I really couldn't tell quite exactly what they were. But then once the clearer pictures were coming out, I was like, all right, this is interesting. This is definitely a different looking kind of ammo than from what we've had previously. There were not any different colors from what I remember. They were all this with the black stripe around. There weren't any other shapes or colors or forms really. So when it came to like, I guess that, not, super high on a tier, but reason why I actually personally might put it up a little higher, like kind of like have more of appreciation for it, is because when it came to the actual game, which, right, if you remember, like all the Glatorian had the counter on their back. Actually, like one of my most popular videos I ever did was how to play the Glatorian arena-like game with your actual characters. And basically, when you would shoot your opponent from across the room, unlike a Zamor sphere, which would kind of roll around, the little rubber spikes allowed it to bounce around and kind of land wherever it was, especially on hard surfaces. So you could move your character to wherever that Thornax had landed. And so when it comes to like the actual game, I think that's why they made him look like this. Of course, we're on another planet. They're technically like fruit, am I right? And so they're like exploding fruit or whatever. So, it's the spikes kind of give it that like more natural look. And again, I just think the function was, and they would sit into their the actual like launcher pretty well. Like the strips on the side would make them stick in. They would never really fell out or anything like Zamor spheres did in their launchers. But yeah, for me, like my reason why I kind of rate them a little higher was just the fact that they did kind of work with the game, like the intention there of, getting closer and closer to your opponent across the room as you were playing this game. Instead of rolling off, this would land and kind of stick in certain areas. But that's just my opinion, of course. Let's toss it over to Gio when it comes to the Thornax.
So the Thornax launcher, I think, was probably like the most lukewarm of new launchers. Like, it did what it said on the tin, and I commend it for that. It didn't exactly wow me. It didn't exactly underwhelm me. It was just average. As far as lore goes, yes, the Thornax is a fruit. It would explode, actually, once its outer shell was ruptured, which it would basically explode as soon as it made contact with anything. But funny enough, Thornax would crack them open and make stew out of them. How they were able to not get the Thornax to explode, I don't know. But
explosive.
there you
fruit.
have it.
Delicious.
Finally some food.
Delicious flavor. Very explosive.
Looks like exploding fruit is back on the menu, boys.
Tastes like gunpowder and blasting jelly.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to the bathroom.
HQ Bacon, for you, your thoughts on the Thornax launchers?
I like it. I think I kind of agree that it's kind of upper middle. For me, honestly, I think I just like the design of it, and I'm a little biased because it was like the final kind of Bionicle launcher where it was like, this is, that's kind of, I've got bittersweet memories. Like, I still remember finding like Mata Nui at Toys R Us like way before I was supposed to, and like just a bunch of like really positive memories about those sets. So maybe I'm a little biased, but I think out of the other ones, like we were talking about the Midax blaster and stuff, I feel like a lot of the projectiles just didn't have super memorable designs to the projectiles themselves a lot of the time.
Right.
And I felt like this was one that like very simple, super simple, but it made it was color. It wasn't just like gray. I mean, the gun was gray, but the projectile wasn't. I don't know. I like the look of it a lot, and I think that the look of it can carry it a good bit. And it was effective, like you said. It was, it would shoot pretty far, and it would do, what it set out to do. So as a, final thing to, as the final launcher to end out on, I think that they chose a good design to kind of lean into,
Yeah, 100%. I think did Trib head out?
Yeah, he dipped.
All right, cool. Well,
looks like it.
Spo, Senju, how about you?
I was gonna say I'm really.
Oh, he lost internet connection.
Well, maybe he'll jump on in a second,
out.
but you can talk for now, Spo.
I'm really glad you brought up the actual game aspect, because that's really, like, I feel that was like one of Bionicle's or Lego's greatest ideas. I really loved like the concept of the actual game, and how when you shoot them, it gives more to the sets, and the actual launcher itself, I thought the design was great, the function worked, and it was simple, but that combined with the game itself, I think it did its job great, and worked perfectly. And honestly, and what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I don't know if you have any anime fans, but it looks like one of those fruits off of One Piece, the actual
oh yeah, I can kind of see that.
Launcher. Yes, and also like you said, it's really hard to lose, because when you would shoot it, instead of it rolling anywhere, it would the spikes would it would kind of recoil, and especially on carpet, you would just be easy to find. So yeah, I really think these were really one of the best, like, functionality wise, and along with the game, just worked really well.
Totally. Trib, you're back.
Yay! I'm back from the dead.
Cool. What are your thoughts on the Thornax?
I love it. I remember it was also the same year where I actually had a neighbor that actually liked Bionicles. So it was fun playing the Glatorian game. Even made our own rules, just to diversify the gameplay of it. It was fun. The only complaint that I did have with the game system was I wish that you can maybe actually like twist a gear to like swing a sword or something, just to make the gameplay feel a little bit more interactive once you get close to your opponent. Because in the online game, that's what you would do all the time. You would clash your weapon with another opponent, or just shoot.
If you
them,
had a computer that was able to run the game.
Yeah.
That is true. Most people had toasters.
Back then,
Yeah.
I'm certain with today's machines, with like the 3090 Ti or whatever is out right now, like you can basically run that at like 60 FPS, I think.
Oh
Yeah. I was saying, and a PSA on the Biomedia project. I believe they also have like a fan made, like Latorian tournament. I forget what the name was, but like they like, yeah, like basically it's they basically took elements from like the first two games, combined them, and then added stuff in like a third one. It's really cool.
That's dope.
I am consistently blown away by like what this community is capable of. It's really cool.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, yeah, so that's all of our opinions on the Thornax. I'm going to read some of the chat real quick, and then we'll head and do our final like tally. It's going to be hard to agree, I'm sure, here and there, but I'm sure we can find like a middle ground. Let's see. Yeah, Thornax launchers.
Things that everyone's going to agree on, and then there's
best balance of utility and unintrusiveness right there. Spiky Fruit Loop launchers. Yeah, Fruit launchers, they were good. I kind of like. Bioscroll says it's a buildable launcher, so it worked incredibly well. No problems there. The Glatorian weapons were cool, says Cassiano. Says, I wish they added 2 or more Thornax fruits like the Glatorian arena game, like with a bag tied or to the back of the hip or something. Yeah, right. That would have been cool. Bioscroll, personally, don't think they're on the level of Midax Skyblaster or anything. Yeah, but they're still pretty good. Pinch of Basil says Thornax explosives were explosive before they were ripe. Okay, this was when they were harvested for stew. All right, I guess that makes sense. I think the Thornax wasn't explosive when unripe, says CMOS as well. I would put the Thornax launchers between the Rotuka and disc launchers. Pinch of Basil says the launcher ought to get a lot of credit for how it's basic to build and the parts could be reused elsewhere. You can't say that for most of the launchers. I believe you skipped the most important launcher of all, Borok heads. Yeah, I mentioned at the beginning of the stream we weren't going to talk about Krana or Krata just because they were their own thing. But if you include them in the conversation...
They were a play function, but they weren't considered a launcher.
Right. Bioscrow. Oh, yeah, he agrees. Cassiano says, the only thing I wish Glatorian did to be better than the Fentaka Mystic Kamari teams is to introduce more organic looking pieces. Yeah, to stay more loyal to the lore, 100%. Let's bring in Lego Ben 10 figures in different colors: tan, orange, lime green, dark green, black, and yellow. All right, cool. So yeah, I love it. You guys are writing into the chat, and now let's move on here and go ahead and put up. Now this is, I put it together kind of based on our conversations, but we can move things around. Let me pull it up. So we have 9 launchers. Zamor, Kanoka, Rotuka, Squid, Midax, Cordak, Thornax, Tridapods, and 9 Ghost Blasters. This is the list that I have right now. We can change it once we get talking, but this is from what I was feeling. Midax, number 1. I think everyone's kind of in agreement for that. I think Zamor, from what it sounded like, we all felt pretty nostalgic for and liked a lot, but these can move around. I put Kanoka on 3, Cordak at 4, Rotuka at 5, Thornax at 6, kind of in the middle, then Tridax pods, 9ra, and Squid. So before we get moving around, I guess, Geo, is there any sort of moving up and down of certain ones here you would do?
I am working on it right now.
I can always put up everyone's. This is, I guess, from my opinion, where I would put them. I guess I put Kanoka up there just because it was like that first launcher, and I kind of, it does, like, classic Bionicle, like, discs were a big thing, even with the Tahunga in 2001. And canon-wise, just how to make masks, you had to take discs and form them into masks was kind of a cool concept at the time. I just remember... Rotuka, I guess, is a little high up there for me because just like the nostalgia of shooting them up really high. But then again, I mean, this will differ for everyone. But this is what I have right now. I don't know. Yeah, I guess while Gio's putting something together, HQ, do you have any difference of opinion here, or what do you think?
I think ours are pretty similar. I would probably put I can give you my 9 if you want.
Yeah, let's just do that. So this is my 9. We'll go through everyone else's 9. How about that? That sounds good.
Okay. I would put Kanoka just a little higher, just because like I have it at first, just because of the collectible aspect, just because of its history with the universe and that kind of thing. And so I have Kanoka, Midax, then I have Cordak, just because I love the look of that thing.
Right.
Zamor is 4, just because it's not as, I guess not as memorable, but it's still really solid. Then I have Thornax, Rotuka, the leeches, the Ninra, and the squid.
All right.
So pretty similar to yours. I just have like Thornax and Rotuka are kind of on the same playing field.
Totally.
And then I have Kanoka at first.
I have mine in chat.
Cool. All right. Do you want to just say them, Gio?
So my S tier is Midax, Skyblaster, and the Tridax pod. A tier is the Kanoka Discs, Zamor Spheres, Ninra Ghost Blasters, and the Cordak Blaster. B is the Thornax. I was okay with them, but I wasn't really wowed with them. C is Rotuka and Squid. Squid.
I hear you there on the squid. Trib, do you have your 9 you want to share?
Yeah, I do. So far what I got for my number 1 is I got Zamor for number 1 because it hits hard, but it's also super customizable. So like I feel like it allows for plenty of diversity, since like Bionicle, the whole premise of it was meant for the whole like customizable factor. You can build your own characters, since it is a building system in itself. So I feel like that was something that I weighed heavily, along with the overall design of the gun, how effective it is, and stuff like that. So I put Zamor for number 1. Number 2, I did the Midax Skyblasters.
All right.
Number 3, Kanoka Disc. 4, Thornax. 5, Rotuka. 6, the Shadow Leeches. And 7, I put the Ninra Ghost Blasters. And then lastly, I did Squid Launcher.
I feel like we're all gonna have Squid Launcher last. Maybe not Spo Senju though. I'm interested to see.
Are you gonna be the brave soul that puts Squid at number 1, the rightful spot?
I was considering putting Cordak higher, but like that would be too biased.
If we got the Squid Launcher in its original form from that concept art, it would be number 1. Let's be real with ourselves.
Oh yes, abso-freaking-lutely.
All right, so Spo Senju, for you, what are your 9 list?
So my list is practically identical. However, there's to yours. However, there's a few changes. I'm going to as much as I want to put Cordak higher, the fact that like the functionality was just so like lackluster is just I just can't for myself. But 7, 8, and 9 are the only ones really I would change. I would put the Ninra up at 7, the Squid at 8, and the Tridax pods at 9. The only reason Squid's not last for me is because I really like the design, and I do also have a lot of Baraki / Tawamari bias, because those were my favorite lines of sets. But yeah,
that's great.
I would put the Squid at 8. I'm
glad one of us didn't put Squid in last. That's pretty sweet. That's good. That's good. Well, all right, there you guys go. We have 12 concurrent viewers. Let me read a couple of your comments. You can comment on this video or just write it in the chat as well. Your list, 1 through 9. It looks like BioScroll says number 1, Midax, number 2, Zamosphere, number 3, Kanoka. It sounds like a lot of us have Kanoka in that middle, like, top 4 tier. 9rat, number 4. At number 5, we have Cordak. Number 6, Thornax. And Cordak for 7, then Tridax pods, Rotuka at 8, and Squid at 9. Awesome. Well, hey guys, we have 14 concurrent viewers now. A lot of people tuned in and out. This was 2 hours, which is one of our longest streams yet, but it makes sense. We had a lot to talk about today. I want to thank, gosh, so many people showed up today. Bionicle Oculus, Incredibeast, Bioscrowl, DJ Dude, CMOS, Daler99, Bionabot, Alien Kid 360, A Pinch of Basil for always tuning in. I love your content. Clitsfilm Melbourne, Potato Man, Bionabot, I think I already said already, Cassiano. We also had Joss Gage tuned in. We also had a bunch of people. Who else do we have? We had, Spo Senju, who was luckily able to jump in with us, which is great. And yeah, anyone new that I didn't get? No, that's pretty much it. I mean, there you go, guys. That was definitely a lot of fun. I like seeing some of the same guys, some of you on here. I think BioTube just tuned in, BioGlock. Will Poirier, if you're just getting here, GoMan369, good to see you. If you're just getting here now, once this stream ends, you can go and start from the beginning and see us kind of like go through all of the launchers. And then at the end, giving us our top 9. Go ahead and comment on this video once it's out just to replay. Comment on this video your top 9 as well. And if you haven't yet, create a Discord account. Go online, download Discord, and click the link in the description to join our Discord. We talk about this stuff pretty much weekly. We have all sorts of little channels on there. Postum Ognam, I arrived 5 minutes ago. Gonna rewatch. No problem. Go ahead and rewatch, and then at the end, let us go ahead and comment. For all of you guys on this stream, too, both Senju, Tributron, HQ Bacon, and Geo, go ahead and post your top 9 on the video as well once it goes up. But thanks all for being here. Join the Discord. We try to keep this going weekly. If you want to come in, pure example of Spo Senju here, who was a big rider. He was able to get on the Discord and be involved in the live show today. So that's always awesome. Thank you guys all for being here. We're always wondering on what topics we should talk about next. But yeah, 2 hours, pretty solid. HQ Bacon, it was also great having you here. I know you haven't been on one of these yet, so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. This was a lot of fun.
Yes, but so every Thursday we do this. Next Thursday, I will be in Seattle. We'll see if I have time. I guess the convention starts Friday, so I might be able to do a quick little BioTalk live from Seattle. But until then, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next BioTalk. And this is the way of the Bionicle. Peace out, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Bye, guys.